The joke landed like a knife disguised as a paper napkin. "If you vanish tomorrow, Rowan," Camille Marwood said, raising her spritzer so the ice chimed like bells, "no one would even notice." Laughter rolled across the lawn of Black Fern Hill. My husband, Jonah, laughed too, reflexive, thin, the same way he laughed at his father's quarterly toasts and his mother's barbed compliments. I didn't laugh. I lifted my hot dog like a champagne flute, locked eyes with Camille, and said, "Challenge accepted." By sunrise, I would be gone. No forwarding address, no goodbye note, no phone that could be traced. By the next summer, when those lights twinkled again for the annual barbecue, it wouldn't be a punchline they were serving. It would be consequences. The Marwoods have a tradition. The first Saturday of summer barbecue, a choreographed performance disguised as a family gathering. Rex Marwood, patriarch and brand king of Marwood and Company, presides with a bourbon like a scepter. Vivian, his wife, conducts the guest list with militarized hospitality. Their children orbit. Camille, who inherited Rex's smile and none of his restraint. Miles, the golden youngest who calls recklessness steel flow. And Jonah, my husband, steady, polite, polished like river stone in a current I never owned. I'm Rowan Hart, 34, graphic designer by trade, raised by a mother who swapped shifts at the Harborvale General Cafeteria to keep us fed. I met Jonah when he was finishing business school, and I was splitting nights between a coffee shop and my degree. He tipped well, listened better, and asked about the book I hid under the counter. We moved fast. He had a ring that glittered like the future. I said yes to him, yes to the townhouse, yes to the family that came with his last name like fine print. That last barbecue, I tried again, one more attempt to be me, but dressed in their language. I passed around mock-ups from a national campaign my tiny studio had landed under a pseudonym I'd started using, R.H. Vale. I didn't announce that I was R.H. Vale. I just wanted them, for once, to be impressed without the reflex to diminish. Camille didn't let me finish. "We're discussing real campaigns, darling," she said, smile lacquered, voice syruped with pity. "If you disappeared tomorrow, no one would even notice." Even Jonah's laugh hurt. The world tightened until all I could hear was the yard's quiet hostility. Ice clinking, grills spitting, the river grumbling below. I raised the stupid hot dog, as if it were a goblet. Challenge accepted. The picture of Camille's startled blink is stapled to the inside of my skull. I finished my drink, kissed Jonah's temple, and carried the bowl of potato salad inside like any good daughter-in-law on cleanup duty. I didn't come back out. I'd prepared for this without admitting that I had. Not everyone keeps a go bag in the hall closet, passport, cash, old laptop, a second set of keys to a safe deposit box downtown, but grief had taught me to. 3 months earlier, I'd miscarried at 11 weeks while Jonah was in Chicago. Vivian sent lilies and the kind of note that weaponizes comfort. Camille texted, "Stress from your little business probably didn't help. X. Only my sister Lena came and slept on the couch, made soup, folded into the quiet with me." Something in me calcified that week. The knowledge that I could be erased in that house as easily as a chalk line in rain. So I'd made quiet arrangements. I rented a one-room sublet under my middle name on Ink Street, above a florist that smelled like an apology for the world. I had a new phone, new email, the bones of a new brand. I told myself it was temporary, until I felt like myself again. The barbecue decided the timeline. At 2:12 a.m., I left the townhouse with a bag, the laptop, and a shoebox I'd hidden under the bed. My mother's locket, a USB drive, and the original sketches from campaigns I'd done that mysteriously inspired work presented by Marwood and Company over the past year. A coincidence, of course. Somehow my proofs had found their way into Jonah's laptop, then into Rex's boardroom. By dawn, I was Rowan Hart with a haircut, an alias, and silence like armor. I blocked numbers. I shut down socials. I didn't leave a letter. I vanished. No one likes a woman who stops explaining herself. Silence surprised me with its elasticity. It stretched to fit the shape of my days. I built Nocturne Studio in that sublet, a one-woman design shop with clients I never met in person. Under Harborvale, I pitched on blind platforms and won on the strength of a portfolio my married life had always footnoted. The work thrummed and grew. I slept, I ate, I designed. I ran by the river at sunrise when Harborvale wore fog like shawl fringe. The florist downstairs, Sana, kept a vase on the stairs for blooms that didn't sell. Hydrangeas going soft, sunflowers freckled with failure. We traded kindnesses. She never asked for the whole story. The only person I let in was Lena. She'd kept my secret, visited with bags of groceries and feral, protective love.
Heal first, she said.
Plot later. Plotting came naturally to a designer. I built a wall of index cards above my desk. Dates, names, invoices, screenshots. Threads ran between them like red stitches. At the center, Marwood and Company and its glittering philanthropic arm, the Marwood Foundation for Civic Renewal, Vivian's crown. I set reminders for the family's annual beats, Vivian's winter gala, Rex's spring keynote at the Brandforge conference, the summer barbecue. I filed for a DBA for Nocturne and registered a quiet LLC. I moved my savings into the Clover Street Trust, a simple legal container that didn't have Marwood anywhere near it. I changed the locks on the storage unit that held the detritus of my old life. Wedding album, letters, a box of apology cards. No one from the Marwoods came pounding my door. No one issued missing person alerts. Jonah didn't show up with rain in his hair, breathless with regret. He sent 2 emails in the first week, both strangely formal. After that, the silence took on a polished shine, like the rest of their life. No one noticed, apparently. Not enough to matter. Fine. Watch me make matter. Information is a kindness you can weaponize. Months into my not life, an old contact messaged Harborvale, Anya Petrov, CFO of Kestrel and Kin, a regional agency Rex loved to mock in interviews. She wanted a brand refresh, quiet, fast, discreet. I took the contract. Her retainer wired into my trust like a heartbeat. On our third call, Anya laughed and said, "I feel like I know your lines." We pitched against Marwood last quarter. Their decks had your fingerprints. It was the throwaway comment of a woman who saw too much to pretend. She didn't know my real name, but he'd climb my neck anyway. I asked for details. She sent them. Screenshots of Marwood decks, color palettes I'd built, typography pairings I'd labored over, mock-ups I recognized because I'd photographed the props on our kitchen table. Marwood had presented them as internal work. Of course they had. When you're a son, you call anything in your light your own. I needed proof beyond resemblance. Proof presented to a court, a board, a newsroom, a mother at a gala gilt with donors. Proof like dates, metadata, invoices, IP logs. I knew where to look. When you've lived with someone for 7 years, you learn the passwords they think are clever. You learn where they keep their second laptop, the one with the encrypted folder they call Taxes 2018. You learn that even brilliant men are lazy with secrets. I didn't break into the townhouse. I didn't need to. Marta, the housekeeper who called me mi cielo when no one else was around, met me at the back door one rainy Wednesday and pressed a Ziploc bag into my palm. 3 USB drives labeled in Jonah's handwriting. "I don't like thieves," she said, eyes furious and kind. "But I hate erasers more." I went home and opened the first drive. Inside, photos from vacations they took after I left, so quickly I could taste the plain salt. A folder named Foundation with PDFs of grant proposals and disbursements, and a baffling collection called Showcase, exported decks with creation dates that predated Marwood's pitches by months. My months. The second drive held email archives. The third, a complete copy of Jonah's cloud drive, synced on some breathless night he hadn't thought to unplug. I read until dawn. I learned more in 10 hours than I had in 7 years. Vivian's Foundation played shell games with community funds, round-robin grants that circled back to for-profit Marwood subsidiaries via consultancy fees. Photographs of ribbon cuttings, then invoices for strategic visioning. Camille coached junior account managers to scrape freelance platforms for innovative decks, change 3 small things, and internalize the work. No fingerprints, she'd written. We're the standard. They're the mood board. Miles had leveraged the foundation's donor list to prop up a private venture fund called Elm Street Capital, selling participation in what were essentially Marwood-adjacent deals. Jonah had filed a separation petition 2 months after I vanished, claiming abandonment and seeking half of community intellectual property, which he described as creative assets developed during the marriage. He attached screenshots of my files, the ones he'd lifted, to his attorney's brief as examples of our assets. I tasted copper. Not grief. Not rage. Something cleaner. I called Lena. Okay, she said. Now we plot. I don't have money like a Marwood, but I have design and time. I used both. Step 1. Lock down my IP. I registered my most duplicated series with the Copyright Office under Harborvale, and then again under Nocturne Studio, cross-refed with dated working files and raw photo EXIF data. I had timestamps that would make any we didn't know defense fall off a cliff. Step 2. Ally up. I hired Sophia Durand, an attorney whose shoes looked old and whose eyes did not. I told her the truth. She didn't blink. We'll file quiet and serve loud, she said. And if they try to smear you, we'll make the smear an exhibit. Step 3. Map the money. Anya introduced me to a retired forensic accountant named Gareth Ing, who spent his weekends restoring clocks and his weekdays reading numbers like gossip. He pored over the foundation's filings, flagged circular disbursements and consultancy overlaps, then mapped a flowchart so elegant even a donor with a martini could follow it. Step 4. Set the stage. The Marwood calendar was public if you knew where to look. Vivian's vanity site, society pages, a columnist enamored with Rex's quotes. The Foundation's summer renewal gala would be held the same day as the annual barbecue, first Saturday of summer. Afternoon on the lawn for family, evening at the Harborvale Conservatory. I picked that day like a lock. Step 5. Become the uninvited guest. I designed a microsite under a neutral, donor-facing URL. Renewal revealed. Elegant, white space, quiet fonts, lovely photos. Also, documents, links, and a clean summary of what the foundation actually funded versus what it claimed. At the bottom, I embedded a real-time counter that would flip at 7:30 p.m., halfway through the gala, to reveal the copyright filings correlating Marwood's showcase decks to my originals. The site would go live only if a specific NFC tag, taped beneath the podium at the conservatory, was activated by a phone.
Mine.
Sophia called it artful entrapment. Gareth called it a clock. I called it design. The morning of the first Saturday of summer, Harborvale put on its clean shirt. River bright. Sky rinsed. The Marwoods' lawn glittered in rental chairs and white tents. I parked 3 blocks away and walked with a tote that looked like it held a picnic and actually held a life. I wore a dark dress that didn't remember me. I'd cut my hair. My face had learned stillness in the year of no one. Marta saw me first from the kitchen door. Her hand flew to her mouth. She didn't call my name. She simply stepped aside. I came in through the mudroom as if I'd come back from taking out the trash. The house smelled like rosemary and money. In the great room, Vivian supervised a pyramid of champagne with the serene malice of a queen. Rex rehearsed a toast to family and civic duty. Camille laughed at something Miles said, and did not look like a woman who had ever been told no. Jonah turned and saw me. People like to imagine reunions like movie kisses or screaming matches. Ours was mostly air. He went stark white, then blotchy red, then carefully neutral. Rowan, he said, as if practicing the pronunciation of an unfamiliar ingredient. You look well. Thank you, I said. I came for my mixing bowls. Vivian glided over, syrup and steel. How brave of you to show your face. Brave, I echoed. Or bored. Rex shook my hand with the firm pressure of a man who had always been introduced to the right people. You're always welcome here, Rowan, he said, and managed to make welcome sound like warned. Camille's eyes glittered. Look who noticed. I did wonder, I said mildly, if anyone would. Miles smirked. We thought you were the one who didn't. Jonah cleared his throat. Rowan, perhaps we could speak privately. Later, I said. I wouldn't want to interrupt the family script. I didn't stay for the toasts. I took the mixing bowls, a terrarium Lena had made us at our wedding, and a book I'd once hidden behind the coffee maker to survive holidays. The design of everyday things. I left as quietly as I'd come, heart calm, hands steady, spine a drawstring pulled tight. No scenes yet. That was for tonight. The Harborvale Conservatory looks like a glass ship run aground in a park. When the sun drops, the trees outside turn into velvet and the donors inside glow. I arrived at 7:10 p.m. in a borrowed suit and a press badge I designed for myself that read, Harborvale Ledger, R. Vale. Donors love press. They adopt posture. Vivian, draped in peacock silk, accepted compliments like sacrament and kissed air near my cheek without recognition. Rex took the stage at 7:25. He told a story about civic renewal and boys who needed books and girls who needed grit. He thanked the board. He didn't thank the shell companies. At 7:28, I slid my phone beneath the podium and tapped the NFC tag. A quiet click and code. The microsite woke. A scheduled email went to the Ledger, the Harbor, State Watch, and Kestrel and Kins General Counsel, with a clean press brief attached. Another set went to the Attorney General's Charitable Division. Sophia's paralegal clicked submit on our copyright complaint. At 7:30, the counter flipped. Phones lit like fireflies across the conservatory floor. Whisper, ripple, hush. It's a particular kind of silence when people read about their own names. Rex's smile faltered half a centimeter. Vivian's fingers tightened on the program until the paper croaked. Camille took out her phone, scrolled, stopped. She looked up, found me, understood. I nodded once. We didn't go to a back room. We moved to the far end of the conservatory where a fig tree made a privacy screen and the band played something determinately cheerful. Your timing, Vivian said, voice low, is vulgar. Your bookkeeping, I said gently, is worse. Rex stepped closer. He had a way of talking that made you feel included in your own scolding. Rowan, we can resolve misunderstandings. Taking things to the press. Not a misunderstanding, I said. A pattern. Also, I didn't take it to the press. I gave it to them. There's a difference. Camille's composure cracked like glaze. You have always been small, she hissed. We lifted you up. We made you presentable. Now you do this because you couldn't hack it. I held up a hand. You copied my work, rebranded it as internal, billed clients for it, wove it into your decks, your showcases, your award submissions. You called it internalization in email. You told juniors no fingerprints. You stole from dozens of freelancers, not just me. And your foundation throws parties for donors while grant money boomerangs into your subsidiaries as consultancy fees. You helped yourself to a community pantry like it was a tasting menu. Miles, unbothered, shrugged. That's narrative. Everyone launders a little reputation. Not with the Attorney General's seat, I said. Not with a board member from Elm Street Capitol recorded on a call saying, if it's not illegal, it's at least efficient. Rex aimed his smile like a tranquilizer. Let's not posture. You're angry because Jonah filed for separation. We can discuss terms. Jonah had been quiet, watch wound too tight. Rowan, I told him not to, he stopped. He hadn't. I took a breath so I wouldn't shake. You attached screenshots of my files to your petition, Jonah. You called my designs community assets. You assumed community meant Marwood. He flinched. I thought we shared. You laughed when your sister erased me. He closed his eyes. I handed Rex a crisp envelope. That's notice of my copyright complaint and a demand letter. The exhibits are in the press packets and on the site. There's a list of every freelancer whose work your junior teams internalized. Their names matter. You've got 30 days to settle. After that, we litigate. Vivian's cheeks held a furious bloom. Do you have any idea who you are dealing with? Yes, I said. People who never expected the help to write in pen. Security drifted closer. Not for me. For optics. Donors whispered. The band played a song that survived impact. Somewhere, the conservatory's glass ticked as night expanded and cooled. Camille laughed once. A sound like a shard. You know what the worst part is? Even now, you want us to see you. I want you to see everyone you flattened, I said. Jonah whispered, Rowan, please. I turned to him. You had a year, I said. You used it to scrub me out of the holiday newsletter. His mouth trembled. I didn't know how to fix it. You could have started with not laughing. Fallout never looks like fireworks. It looks like calendars changing. On Monday, the ledger ran renewal, revealed above the fold. The op-ed in the Harbor asked why a foundation devoted to civic renewal filed consultancy invoices to Marwood Strategic, a for-profit, for brand integrity workshops. By Wednesday, the Attorney General's office issued a request for documentation, which is bureaucratic for we're in your drawers. Donors announced pauses that were actually exits. Kestrel and Kin filed a complaint with the Brand Council about award submissions suspected to include non-internal work. The council didn't have real teeth, but it had headlines. My inbox flooded with freelancers who recognized their bones in Marwood decks. Sophia built a collective claim like a raft. Gareth happily sharpened pencils. Rex released a statement. We are proud of the Foundation's work and confident in our processes. Vivian resigned from the Foundation to spend more time with family. Camille went quiet on socials, a starvation play for attention that worked on everyone but me. Miles spun Elm Street Capital into a new direction, which meant he renamed it and hoped time is a solvent. Jonah emailed, then called, then knocked on the florist door. I didn't answer the first two. Sanaa did not open the third. Come back with flowers, she said through the wood, and humility. When I finally met him, I chose neutral territory, a bench by the river where ducks made pointless errands between reeds. He looked thinner, or just less certain. I'm sorry, he said, before I even Saturday. I thought loving you and loving them could be the same thing. It never was, I said. They made sure. I laughed because I was afraid of them, he said. Because Camille decides what's funny and everyone obeys. Because my mother rewards cruelty if it's elegant. Because my father confuses branding with truth. Because standing with you would have cost me their approval, and I didn't know how to live without it. And now you do? I don't know how to live without you. It would be easy to write a different ending here, one where I softened, where love learned better timing. But grief had taught me math. I counted what I'd lost in that house and what I'd built outside it. I counted the cost of forgiveness and the interest it would incur. You laughed, I said again, because some sentences are architecture. And then you tried to claim half my mind. He cried then, quietly, not his performance. He put the ring on the bench between us. I'll sign whatever you need, he said. I won't fight it. I know, I said. Because Sophia already sent the papers. You signed this morning. He nodded. I thought maybe the signature and the apology could be neighbors. They can, I said, but they're not synonyms. We sat until the river took the light. I left the ring. The next first Saturday of summer, Harborvale glittered. Black Fern Hill's lawn staged a barbecue that looked thinner around the edges. Fewer cars. More space between chairs. A new placard on the Foundation office downtown. Under independent review. I didn't go. I walked through the Ink Street Market with Lena and Sanaa, bought strawberries from a teenager who miscounted on purpose to give us more, and stopped by the little studio I'd rented with a glass front and a brass bell that rings like a clear decision. Nocturne Studio has 2 junior designers now, both paid above rate, both with their names on credit lines. Sometimes, late, I still see the lawn lights at Black Fern Hill. How beautiful they were, how sharp. I see my own face in the conservatory glass, borrowed suit, borrowed name, the person who learned that disappearing can be a way to appear at last. When I think about Camille's joke, I don't flinch. I don't drink to it. I correct the grammar. I didn't vanish. I left. And the difference was the whole design.